I'm not saying that there is no value in crypto. I'm just saying 99% of it is not. It doesn't have real value. Time is limited. Your youth is limited. If you can spend that time with Bitcoiners, building on truth money, that is beneficial for society, right? We see a lot of financial issues in this world because it's been built on debt, right? Fake money, credit, money printed out of thin air. So it's like, if you really understand the implications of Bitcoin and getting back on a true hard money standard, a lot of societal issues get improved through that.
Welcome to CoinRank. We're very happy to hear that you're heading to Bitcoin Mana as a speaker. So to kick things off, could you please give us a brief introduction of yourself and to our audience and share what you're currently focusing on?
Hi everyone, my name is Peter Dwan. I've worked in traditional finance for 14 years. I had a nice range of experience working in traditional finance. So I started off working at Cantor Fitzgerald commercial mortgage-backed securitization division. Then moved on to creating financial products that was wholesaled through financial advisors. That was a very interesting experience because I experienced a boom and a bust. So it was a lot of learning experiences. I also had experience working in investor relations role at an S&P 500 company. And most recently, I was a wealth advisor. So to your question of what I've been focusing on, over the last year, I've been really involved in the Bitcoin Treasury space. It's a very interesting phenomenon. But at very, very recently, as in like just this week, this AI tsunami, I call it, is coming and displacing millions of jobs. So I'm actually going to start focusing on that because I still think Bitcoin is I call it the financial Noah's Ark to save a lot of people from this AI tsunami.
It's very interesting to hear that you have so many variety of your backgrounds and also come from a traditional finance background. So what specifically promotes your transition from traditional finance to crypto finance? And what were the biggest challenges you encountered during this whole shift?
Experienced a lot of pushback from the traditional finance world. I think if you really to break down why, right? Like if you think about Bitcoin, a lot of people, when they first experience it, thinks it's a scam, right? Because it moves up very fast and it crashes very violently. And usually speaking, that has very bubble-like behavior. But as you observe through the years that it has recovered from that and then gained from that, then it should cause some areas of curiosity for you, okay? But the issue with that is that if you're a traditional finance professional and you were to bring it up to the management team, the first reaction is what I just said, is that it's a scam, right? And the second thing is that because Bitcoin takes about, I say, at least 250 hours to really understand, because there's so many moving parts, many people are not incentivized to learn a completely new financial paradigm, okay? But in recent years, especially with BlackRock's launch of IBIT, which has been the most successful ETF launch in history and their actual top revenue generator, it has provided a lot of on-ramps for traditional finance to pay attention to, right? BlackRock, as I said, is the largest asset manager in the world, and as well as Fidelity, right? And then very recently, Vanguard has allowed their clients to invest in Bitcoin, which you're talking about now the top 1, 2, and 3 asset managers in the world that collectively manage probably over $25 trillion of assets. They're not going to have that reputational risk if it's truly a scam. And so now you start seeing, the traditional finance world waking up. But again, the reputational risk due to its volatility has deterred a lot of traditional finance professionals up until this point.
You just mentioned that Bitcoin have a lot of the seems like have a lot of bubbles. The price go super high and super down. So for this year, we also experienced that with the Bitcoin falling from its high of the 120K in October to right now it's like around 80K. And this morning I checked it's like 90K. So how do you assess which cycle we're in currently, and what kind of advice you would give to all of the Bitcoin holders?
People think that the Bitcoin, because historically it has experienced a 4-year cycle, that cycle is going to persist. I think that logic is flawed in a few ways. One is that the data points is not great, right? I think it's 3 cycles in which you experience that. So if you were to use any statistical analysis, 3 data points does not make it, statistically significant. 2 is that if you were to look under the hood of what really happened, yes, the first 1 or 2 maybe cycles were really a cause of the halving cycle, where the block rewards are cut in half roughly every 4 years. But really, what it actually really coincides with is liquidity, right? So now we've entered a regime where the US has officially ended quantitative tightening and moved into quantitative easing. And also, it's not just the US, but globally, the world is awash in debt, right? So, and as I mentioned at the very beginning, where now my focus is AI displacement of millions of jobs, they like, sooner than later, there's going to be political pressure to print money to help and distribute to the citizens as we try to figure out how we integrate our daily lives with artificial intelligence. And so with the confluence of all these macroeconomic factors, eventually, sooner than later, hopefully, people will find out that Bitcoin is truly the one and only scarce asset, and that they will move, whatever money that they have into Bitcoin. So to answer your question about how I should think about this, at this point, I really don't think about Bitcoin as much as how to get rich, as opposed to how do I survive this artificial intelligence tsunami. And in my mind, there's only 3 industries that can really be saved, or that will survive this. One is artificial intelligence itself. So think of the hyperscalers, the NVIDIAs. 2 is energy, because AI needs and absorbs a lot of energy. And 3 is Bitcoin. Every other industry, in my mind, is subject to a shrinking market share, in my opinion.
Yes. Can you explain here a little bit more about why you think one of the industry is Bitcoin that can survive with this AI tsunami?
So Bitcoin is the only verifiably digitally scarce resource that is not controlled by any foundation, company, right? It's not a VC coin, right? If I don't know about your audience. I'm sure they're more crypto oriented. So that means it's not just Bitcoin, but Ethereum and Solana or whatever. Well, Ethereum is ran by the Ethereum Foundation. The Solana has a Solana Foundation. Like, there's literally founders of that, right? Of course, Bitcoin has a founder in Satoshi, but it's almost this lore where Satoshi either has died or he has never moved his over 1 million Bitcoin, right? So then it is the truly digitally scarce asset. And I was talking with my fellow panelists, is that when AI agents, really, really come on the forms of billions and trillions of AI agents, what do you think they want to hold? I think it's 2 things. One is they will transact in stable coins, but if they want to keep their value, they'll keep it in Bitcoin.
I totally agree with that. And yeah, I think it's pretty important. So the advice we would give to the normal people who are still probably having the chance to do something in order to protect themselves and survive in this AI tsunami, would you say is like holding Bitcoin, start buying Bitcoins, or starting to get involved with the AI and buy the energy stock, something like that?
Said those are the 3 industries that I feel like is relatively safe, right? Of course, like, there's always going to be some Bitcoin FUD where, like, oh, quantum might break it, okay? But at that point, like, if something breaks Bitcoin, like, I really don't know what hope we have. Within AI, there's fierce competition. I don't know exactly out of the hyperscalers who's going to win it because they're all trying to race to AGI. But some picks and shovels company like NVIDIA is going to do well, although they have roughly 80% of the market share. AMD and Google's TPUs are coming online, and there's more and more competition in that realm. So it's just hard to find a winner. But like again, is at the end of the day, it's like I know if there is a winner, it's Bitcoin, and that's why I'm just so focused on it.
Yeah, so let's move into what you're gonna talk during the speech in Bitcoin Mana. So you're gonna talk about the future growth opportunities for Bitcoin's fund management. So what are your thoughts on the current state of the digital assets treasury? It seems to be facing some bottlenecks in the both policy and the market conditions. So how does this industry break through this?
So I would equate Bitcoin treasury companies to Bitcoin back in 2013. Now, admittedly, I was not in Bitcoin back in 2013, but I'm more kind of relating it to like where it was in the trajectory, right? MicroStrategy, now named Strategy, implemented this Bitcoin Treasury playbook about 5 years ago, right? And it is only within this year that it has got adopters like MetaPlanet and a bunch of other Bitcoin Treasury companies. So it experienced a nice boom, but a subsequent pop. And the reason for that is because these Bitcoin treasury plays are very, very sophisticated, bleeding edge financial engineering. So, as I mentioned earlier, you need about 250 hours to get a pretty solid understanding of Bitcoin. But then to understand how Bitcoin treasury companies have evolved, you need at least to spend another 250, if not 500 or 1,000 hours. I literally have, been focused in this space for the last year, and it's moving daily. So so again, like we mentioned that, institutional investors are nowhere near it. Maybe besides Capital Group, which they're very, very sophisticated and have a great track record of investing in Bitcoin related stuff. But mass majority of institutional finance investors do not understand it because of the requisite learning curve. But in due time, as as the market proves out that, say for instance, MSTR's preferreds are very, very rock solid, and that they can pay their dividends despite any market fluctuation over a long period of time, then it's going to draw more eyeballs.
So we all know that this year the BTC Mana is happening in Middle East, and also around that area they have like the Binance Blockchain Week happening in Dubai, and also have the Abu Dhabi FinTech Week, and also then upcoming the Breakpoint 2025 this year, all happening in Middle East. And we also, I think every people work in crypto know that Middle East is one of the very important region in the crypto market. So what are your views on the trajectory of Bitcoin development in Middle East? And also with the Oman's mining program and the UAE positioning itself as a hub, how important it is still in this crypto market for the next cycle or in the future?
I mean, I'm a capitalist, at heart, and I'm very encouraged to see what's been going on in the Middle East. The Middle East for the last, well, I don't know, 50 years plus has predominantly been an oil country. But as we move away from oil, they have aggressively seen the writing on the wall, and that they have aggressively, diversified their markets, including crypto in this case. So, and also I know they're very, very involved in AI investing as well. So they're very, very smart business people, and they're just pro-business. So they make doing business there very easy, and I'm just very encouraged. Like as long as they keep maintaining this stance of pro-business, pro-capitalism, they're going to be a major, major player in both AI and crypto.
So based on your institution, what is your bold price prediction for the Bitcoin by the end of the next year?
I advise people to think of investing as such. You know, we've entered a world of gambling and speculation when we ought to be thinking about long-term financial survival. So there's a lot of, I lost a lot of money in crypto. Okay, that's why I've only focused in Bitcoin, because I know like what is truly scarce and valuable. So I advise people not to chase the fiat gains, but rather chase Bitcoin gains, so that I hope to stack more and more Bitcoin each and every year, because that's truly the scarce asset that will help you survive in the next AI tsunami.
What's your view on the prediction market?
It mostly as a negative, despite the fact that it is very good at helping you gain real world market data. Promotes speculation, so that instead of money that can flow from that you spend in the prediction markets and produce real life goods and services in the real economy, you use it purely on speculation. So it's not good for society, right? Like that's literally like you're spending more money in gambling. More and more people feel like they cannot catch up, right? Like the example, I think I read some really scary statistic that like the first time home buyer in America, the average age it's like 40 or something like that, as opposed to when it was my parents' age, it was like 28, right? And I see that across all my friends base. You know, I have very successful friends, and most of them do not own homes, including myself. You know what I'm saying? So it like people then need to find ways to outcompete the money printer. And gambling speculation is fun as well and addictive. So I can see and I can understand why it's happening, but on a net basis, it's not a positive for society, in my opinion.
Thank you so much for your time. I think we cover everything, and very impressed of what you say, and like provide us a very good insight.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, and hope you have a good trip to your Bitcoin mena.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.